Hello and welcome back. So far, we have seen how to declare variables. We have been doing so for quite some time now. But you discover that the variables that we have been declaring so far can only hold a single value. And if we want to use another value, we have to change, or if we want to refer to another value, we have to change the previous value that was stored in that variable. Now, I have an instance of a situation. Let's take an example whereby you are the captain of what? A group that consists of some individuals, probably 100 individuals, sorry for that. And then you are assigned a task as the captain of the group to have the list of all the names of the group members and present it in a program. You have to write a code that present the list of all the names of members in your group. Now, how are you going to do that? Are you going to probably create 100 variables for each group member to store their names? That would be hectic and stressful. So in that case, what you need is what is known as an array. So with an array, you can just declare it, and then you specify the length of the array, how many elements it's going to be pointing to. Now I have a little definition. I'll be using the definition to explain further. So let me pop up the definition. So we have definition. It says an array is a data structure in which the items are arranged as a numbered sequence so that each individual item can be referred to by its position number. In Java, but not in some other programming language, all the items must be of the same type. That is to say, all the items inside of that array must be of a single type. So if you have an array of int, you have to make sure that all the items in that array must be of integer type. Probably you fail to do that, your program will not run. So there's no issue in that already. So it's a must, it's a requirement. So if you have an array of strings, it implies that all the values, all the items must be of what? String. So there is also a class known as button. And if you have an array of button, it implies that all the items in that class must be of type button. Now, it went further to say, and the numbering must start at 0. So the numbering starting at 0 has to do with the index. Now, you see the number of items in an array is called the length of the array. So if we just have 5 items in the array, that means the array has a length of 5. If we have 6 items, it means the array has a length of 6. Now in our case, we have 100 group members, so our array should have a length of 100. Now the type of individual items in an array is called the base type, just like we stated earlier. So the type of the individual elements in the array, individual item. So if we have integer type, it means that the base type of the array is an int. If we have a double type, it means that the base type of the array is of type double. And the position number of an item in an array is called the index of that item. So to refer to a particular item in an array, we have to use what is known as the index. So the index is what we refer to the position number of an item in an array. So we have the value in the first position of an array. That value is known as the index. That value. To point to that value, we have to use what is known as the index. So the value will be at index 0 in the case of the first element, and the value in the case of the second element will be at index 2. We are going to be looking at this terminology. Explaining this is kind of not really practical. It might be quite difficult to understand, but when you see it in practice, I believe you understand in more details. So now we are going to declare our array at first. We'll be looking at array type of int, and I'll show you the two different ways we can declare an array. So at first we say int, then we include a bracket. This will specify that we are trying to declare an array of int. Now we can say numbers equals to, now we have to initialize, so we use a curly brace and we say 5, 10, 15, 15, 20 and 25, and we also include our semicolon. Now you can see we've declared an array just with this statement, and declaring this array we initialized it alongside, so that's why we included everything in a pair of curly braces. Now the length of this array is simply the number of the elements stored in this array. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 items in this array. So therefore means that the length of our numbers array is 5. And we can print out the length by saying just this is going to print out the length. Now to refer to an element, an item, the array, we use the index number. So to refer to the very first element, we are going to say numbers, then we are going to include our bracket, then we have to specify the index we are trying to refer to. To refer to the first element, we use an index value of 0. So come out to the bracket and say this is going to refer to the very first element. Now we are not doing anything with this element, we'll just print it out. I'm going to copy the other of this and put right into this bracket. Now when I run this this code, you see that the length will first of all be printed out, then the value at index 0 will be printed next. So we have 5, 5. So the length is 5, and the very first value, which is at index 0, is also 5. So that's why we have 5, 5. So let me just change it to index 3. I believe you guessed it already. The value that will be printed out should be 20. So see, we have 5 and we have 20. So the length of our numbers array is 5, and the value at index 3, remember we are starting the numbering from 0. We have 0, 1, 2 and 3, don't forget. So the value at index 3 is equal to what? Is equal to what? 20. Now let us look at the second way to declare an array. So I'll make a comment also right here. We'll have the base type at first. We also have the variable name. We have to specify it with a new keyword. New. We have to put the length inside of a bracket. So this time I will declare an array of int again to include our bracket. Then I'll call this number list this time around equals to new. Then we have to specify the base type int. Then we have to impute the length inside of this bracket. So we have 10. As you can see, this time around we haven't yet initialized the element in this array. Declaring it like this, we are still going to have values, but all the values in number list will be equal to 0. If I try to print out the first element in number list by saying number list, include brackets and 0, you see it's going to print out 0. Let me just change this value to something like 6. So when I run, You see, we have 0 process that here. So declaring an array of type int, we have not yet initialized the values. If it's a type of int, it's going to fill our array with values of 0. It's going to fill our array with just 0. Now, to change the value, we have to use the indexed number. We can say number list, include our bracket, and say 6, and use the assignment statement by saying equal to 5. Now this time around, when we run our program, we see that this number list will be equal to 5 because we just used an assignment statement that changed the value at index 6 from 0 to 5. So I'll run the program again. And you can see we have it right here, our values. So you see the two different ways of declaring an array. First of all, we can initialize the value of the array at the initial declaration stage, or we can just specify the length of the array using the new int with the brackets and that takes in the length of the array. So the length of number list is simply what is inside of this bracket. Now there's one thing you have to take into account. Now we've declared numbers, we can't access any element that is outside the range of the defined index. We can't increase the length of this array. The array is final. It does not change, but we can change the values inside of each index, but we cannot increase the length of the array, and we cannot access an index that is not inside of this array. Take for example, we are trying to access an index of 5. You see our program is going to throw an exception, and you see the exception that it will throw to us will be an array index out of bound. So you can see exception is thrown. Index 5 out of bound for length 5. So the length is 5. It means that the highest index it can go is what? 5 minus 1, which is 4. So if the length of the array is 10, just like we have right here, the highest number of indexes it can go is what? Is 9. This is as a result of the way we start our numbering. We start our numbering from what? From 0. So if I try to access 9, I change the value right here from at index 9 to 5. So if I try to access 9, you see it will work. But the moment I try to access number listing, I want to change the value to 9. Oh, I failed to commit this stuff. So you see, the moment we try to access number listing, we have an index out of bound for length 10. Let me see highlight we have here. Okay. So as you can see, this is the two different ways to create an array. Now we can create an array of other types. We can say to create an array of type string, all we have to do is say string names equals to, we can initialize by saying Jeff, Kelvin, Timothy, Joshua, and end with a semicolon. Sorry, I failed to include the bracket at this point. So you see, I almost got an error because I failed to just include it. So we now have a name array that contains what, 4 different what, string values, because it's a string array. So now just check it out. If I try to include a variable that is a value that is not of the base type, which is type string, you see I have an error here already. So it implies that I'm trying to add a variable that is not required. We have required type is string, but the one I provided is int, so it will throw an error and our program will not compile. So the length of this names array is just simply 1, 2, 3, 4, since we have just 4 names or 4 strings in this variable. We can also say string name list equals new string, then we specify the length. You can say 6, depending on how many names we want to store. In our case, we are planning to use 100 name because we have 100 group members, so we need a name list that takes in 100 names. So we use 100. So when we print out the length of what name list, you see that the length of name list is 100. So just try and print that out yourself. I'm not printing it out for you. Just code along. So that's all on array. You can also declare array of different types. Just follow the same step and procedure, and you also have to provide a value that has a type that is equal to what the base type. So thanks for watching. In the next section, we'll be looking at arrays and for loops. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next section. Goodbye.